Hello everyone, hello Lada's tribe, and I'm here on my own. Unfortunately, I do apologize, but Lada is taking some well-deserved time off, so I'm going to lead the show over here on my own. So just bear with me. And as always, those of you who saw me before, heard me before, I do speak quite fast, so I'm just gonna get that out of the way straight away. And now, what are we talking about? We are going to focus on the Venus-Jupiter conjunction that will be taking place next week on Tuesday, right after Mercury stations direct, and it will be taking place in the sign of Cancer. And what is interesting about this one is that Venus and Jupiter is actually going to meet in Cancer once again next year in June. So there are two conjunctions between Venus and Jupiter in the sign of Cancer. So we are going to look at the charts and we're going to see what we can get with regards to the interpretation of wow, what's going on there. What's going on there? Obviously, we know Jupiter is the traditional ruler of the North Node at the moment, and North Node still will be in the sign of Pisces next year when they conjunct. So this is all about expansion through release, through reconnection, and all these dynamics we are experiencing at the moment, especially now with Mars being in the sign of Libra. By the time you're watching this, very likely it will be post this full moon in Aquarius. I'm recording this before that. I'm actually recording this before 8/8 portal. And at the time of me recording this, Mars is actually on 0 degrees of Libra, coming into the exact opposition with Saturn and Neptune, also trying to Uranus and trying to Pluto. So these are some very important energies that we are experiencing at this time. And also Jupiter and Venus being the benefics, how we see them from the traditional astrology perspective. We might be all expecting just the gold coins to start showering our head, but from the evolutionary astrology perspective, actually Jupiter and Venus coming together in Cancer are saying it's time to expand no matter what. And what are you expanding especially is your relationship with yourself, because that's where everything begins. So without much further ado, I'm actually going to share screen so you see what I'm actually talking about over here, and then we can dive into the symbology of this beautiful conjunction that, as I mentioned, is going to take place next week on Tuesday, on August 12th, which is actually a day that adds up to number 11, which I see as an auspicious sign. And shortly before the exact conjunction, Saturn is actually going to make a sextile to Uranus. And why am I even bringing this up? Actually, is this the right one? This is the wrong one. This is the one for next year. So Saturn is going to make to August 12th, Saturn is going to make an exact sextile to Uranus. This is a closing sextile between Saturn and Uranus. You can see Saturn is here on 111. So actually it is going to happen. Well, it already happened because yes, Saturn is on retrograde. So 111, that's a definitely nice degree to have a sextile on. And this is the closing sextile before their next conjunction. And the last conjunction, interestingly enough, took place in the sign of Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. And this is a closing sextile, which is all about Aquarius frequency. So going back to Venus and Jupiter, last time Venus and Jupiter conjunct was last year on 23rd of May, which was actually right before the peak of the full moon in Sagittarius, again ruled by Jupiter, and they conjunct on 29 degrees of Taurus. Shortly after that, Venus moved into the sign of Gemini, Jupiter moved into the sign of Gemini a few days later. Before that, in 2023, they conjunct in Aries, so there was obviously an initiation. Mars at the time was in the sign of Gemini, initiation of a choice. We know that this was right before Pluto moved into the sign of Aquarius for the first time. This is all important because we are looking at the energies that are actually going on at the moment at the same time as this conjunction is taking place. So once again, we are resetting the cycle that began last year on 23rd of May, right before full moon in Sagittarius, and it was on that anaretic 29 degrees. This is of course post this Uranus-Jupiter and Uranus-Venus conjunction, all in a new phase to Uranus. So Uranus is all about taking us beyond. Currently Uranus on this 1 degree, the magician degree. So going back to this Venus and Jupiter being in the sign of Cancer, of course, ruled by the moon. And you can see during the time of their conjunction, moon is actually on 27 degrees of Pisces. 27 straight away jumps up for me as the number 9. The number 9 is the year that we are currently experiencing, the year of Hermit, the year of things that are ending. What is ending? What is ending predominantly are these old relationships, all relational dynamics towards ourselves and towards others, especially because Venus was reborn, as we know. She had this retrograde at the beginning of year throughout March. and April, and Venus was going from Aries to Pisces back to Aries. She had a triple conjunction with all Saturn, Neptune, and North Node. So did Mercury. So Venus is kind of reborn over here, and Venus being the sign of Cancer is saying, okay, now we have to really strongly connect with the sense of who we are, with the sense of our intuition. Jupiter being a sign of Cancer is in his exaltation. So Jupiter likes being a sign of Cancer because it's helping us to grow and expand through really attuning us to our own intuition and the sense of who we truly are. Not just these labels, but actually the way we are going to realize that is amplifying all the labels and all the roles we played for one another, which is how we experience the contrast based on how we felt. Is this really who I am? Or is this just the role I played? And now the longer I play this role, the more I feel depleted and my cup is getting emptier, right? So now with Venus coming together with Jupiter, being ruled by this moon on 27 degrees, which is actually a Gemini degree, right? This is the final decan of Pisces, which is the Scorpio decan of Pisces. So this is all about making a choice. Do I want to continue to feel disempowered by believing that this is the only role I can play? This is my identity, where I came from, my ancestor lineage. This is another thing that is very strongly amplified with Jupiter being a sign of Cancer. Everything that is unresolved in your ancestor line, which of course got passed on to you because you are now the front runner, unless you have children and then they are the front runner, but very likely they are too small to act on it yet. You are the front runner of your ancestor line. So they passed on to you everything, the gifts, the experiences, the challenges, and everything that was not transmuted, transformed, and transcended by those that came before you, that contributing towards you being here, towards I being here. Everything got passed on, so now it's your responsibility. So with this Jupiter and Venus coming together, and still trining this North Node, actually coming into the North Node is going backwards, coming into the trine. The trine didn't happen exact yet, but coming into the trine with this North Node, this is supportive in this process of releasing by seeking a deeper meaning, a new meaning. With this Neptune and Saturn being in the sign of Aries, there is a whole new direction opening up for us. I already covered some of this with the Saturn in Aries video. There is a whole new reality that we have the potential to create, right? And now with Mars being in the sign of Libra, at the time of the conjunction on 3 degrees. 3 degrees is the creation. 3 degrees is Jupiter, is a Jupiter number, and is the Gemini number in astrology, the Gemini, the choice. And also it's in the tarot is the Empress, which is the Earth, the Gaia. So we have the opportunity to create a new Earth by balancing the karma, by balancing that which was, all these ancestor lineages, all this past, all these memories, because Cancer also rules our memories, everything that was before you were born. So genetically, everything that was before got passed on to you, right? So now we have the opportunity to balance it and go like, okay, we can create something different. We don't have to keep going in the same direction and keep recreating the same loops, because Venus, as the ruler of Mars, is in Cancer, conjunct Jupiter. Jupiter is the traditional ruler of this North Node that is trining this union, that is trining this conjunction. It's saying everything is getting amplified. All these old roles are right in our face. Our relational dynamics, I'm sure, are amplified too, and quite intense, especially now with this Mars being in Libra. We know from the traditional astrology perspective, this is the detriment for Mars. And Jupiter being in his exaltation, it's creating a lot of pressure. There is a lot of pressure. They are not yet in a square. Venus, Jupiter, square in Mars, not yet. Here, as Mars just entered Libra, however, it's already square by sign, right? Cancer to Libra, so there is a square by sign. And Venus to Mars, this is a closing square, which is the crisis in consciousness. What are we releasing? We are releasing the old roles. We are releasing the old contracts. Why? Because Saturn is already in Aries. Saturn is retrograde now. Neptune is retrograde, so are making us to go within and seek the inner purpose, seek that meaning inside, and saying that, well, everything that is now in manifested form, it is up to me to discern. South Node in Virgo, ruled by Mercury. At the time of this conjunction, Mercury is actually direct. Mercury stations direct the day before on August 11th. So Mercury is direct, but this Mercury is still in his shadow, it's still going forward on the territory that Mercury already passed 2 times. So it's the third time lucky, right? Mercury is going to exit his shadow on August 25th. And Mercury currently is helping us to integrate everything that we were reevaluating and working on during this Mercury retrograde. So Mercury being direct at the time. I'm still confused because obviously Mercury is retrograde at the time I'm recording this. So Mercury being direct at the time of this conjunction, obviously ruled by the Sun. Sun is in his rulership. This is an opportunity to really integrate what did we realize, by how it makes us feel, the reconnection with our heart. Mercury in Leo is really helping us to reconnect with our heart, with the authentic voice of our soul. It's helping us to now integrate at the time of this conjunction, what is my authentic expression? What is my authentic language? Is it still this role that I always played for all these people, especially with this moon being in a sign of Pisces on Scorpionic Decan and Gemini degree, saying, is this still making me feel empowered? With Mars still within the trine of this Pluto trine to this Uranus in opposition with this Saturn and Neptune. We have this beautiful grand air trine going on there and this kite, right? At the precipice of which we have this Mars and the Saturn-Neptune conjunction together with the moon already within a degree. Moon is moving into the sign of Aries later on the same day. We can see it's only 3 degrees away. And it's the 2 minutes. 2 minutes is the choice. What are we choosing to let go of? What are we choosing to release? Once again, Jupiter is the traditional ruler of Pisces. So even though technically Jupiter and Moon, you would say like, okay, well, Jupiter and Moon had the mutual reception when Moon was in a sign of Sagittarius, but technically they still have the mutual reception here because Jupiter is the traditional ruler of Pisces. So they do have a mutual reception based on traditional astrology interpretation, and that is very supportive. And you can see there is the trine. There is the trine ongoing. I mean, 13 degrees is a little bit too far for Jupiter, Venus, and the Moon, but the Moon and the North Node are still conjunct, and there is the trine between Jupiter and Venus to this North Node. What are we releasing? What are we letting go of? It is the old contracts. It is the old identities. Why? Because there is this completely new desire for creating something else that will balance that which was. So we are coming up with all these relational dynamic that are right in our face, and I can only obviously know my experience, your experience, but in my own personal experience, all this stuff that just got passed on from generation to generation to generation, the unresolved dynamics with our family, the unresolved dynamics or the learned outdated pattern with regards to romantic relationship, children and parents parenting, friendships and stuff, all these dynamics that were based on the Piscean paradigm, which was the sacrifice, the guilt, the shame, the self-abandonment, right? Because with the with the Libra and Taurus, there is an inconjunction. You will never know your true value if you're seeking it outside of yourself. If you're looking out to that other, to the external environment to validate you, to seek that validation. The external environment will always project what the external environment needs you to see, right? Or also when people are invested, where their own interests are invested in the dynamic, that they will want us to play a certain role because that what is suiting their needs, right? We all see only our own needs. We don't necessarily see the other people's needs. That's why you never know what somebody else is going through. You never know anybody else's experience, only your own, because you lived 100% of your life. Nobody else have. So that's why nobody really knows unless we communicate, unless we are authentic, unless we are in our integrity. So now with this Mars being the sign of Libra in opposition with this Mars, with this Saturn-Neptune conjunction ruled by Mars, right? And Mars being ruled by Venus in conjunction with this Jupiter, everything is amplified. So once again, all these relational dynamics doesn't have to be just with people, but predominantly with people, because this is how we grow through relational dynamic. The other mirrors you or helps you to see whatever it is that you need to see in yourself. Now with Venus being a sign of Cancer in conjunction with Jupiter, it's very amplified. It is right there in our face. It's felt very, very strongly, and it's making us question, is this really who I am? Is this really who you are? Is this really the role we want to continue to play for one another, with this Saturn as karma being in a sign of Aries and Mars opposing him in a sign of Libra, which is the justice, the scale of karma, the scale of justice, all these unprocessed things. What is karma? Karma, to me, in my understanding, and you don't have to agree, is the energy that is stuck in time. Energy, emotion, energy in motion is the energy that is stuck in time, which is out of balance. It is not balance. So that's why we are experiencing the extreme through Libra. We are seeking the balance and harmony, but what we usually experiencing is the contrast, the imbalance. Also the trine to Gemini, that it gives you the opportunity to gather information and make a new choice. And the Aquarius break the old pattern if this is not the pattern that's serving you. And we can see Mars is involved with all of these players, making the trine to Uranus, currently ruled by Mercury, who is also the current ruler of the South Node, Mercury being in Leo, very strongly supported by the Sun. Sun is actually on 19 degrees. Isn't that interesting? That's 10-10 right here. And next year is the year 10. The astrology speaks in many different ways. Also, number 19 is the Sun card in Tarot, which is all about the rebirth in a start, same starting anew, the purification from the inside out, from the heart space, from the Leo. And Mercury here is on the 4 degrees Cancer, right? And also the 17, number 8, which is the star card in Tarot, and it's also the number 8, which is the strength. So we have the opportunity to step into our strength, supported by the Sun in his rulership, to decide what role do I want to play going forward. We do have a choice. We know that last conjunction took place on 29 degrees of Taurus in a new phase conjunction with this Uranus, which said this foundation you are experiencing right here, right now, is not going to be around for very long. Not very much longer, because it's been maxed out. This 29 degrees of Taurus, that's a Capricorn decan. It's time for you to create something new, to become your own authority, right? And also Uranus, at the time, Pluto was also retrograde, 2 degrees, the choice. 2 degrees, the choice. How do you want to go further, grow and evolve? Interestingly enough, exact trine to Sun, the choice. The choice and the choice. Number 2, the duality. Through the duality and polarity, you can decide. The North Node was conjunct Mars as the ruler of the North Node, and Chiron in Aries. The woundings are coming up for healing, because these old contracts that we play out for one another, playing this role to one another, so this energy in motion that got stuck in place and time, aka karma, can be played out. It has to be embodied, it has to be felt. Otherwise, it's all just rational, right? Like, oh yeah, we did this, we did that, our ancestors did that. But unless we go through something that reawakens the same feeling, the sense of judgment, the sense of guilt, the sense of shame, the question mark, what choice do I make? Do I make the same choice my parents did, even though I can see, I have the evidence? Currently, the South Node in Virgo, look at that. At the time, the Lilith, the black moon, the unconscious, was in Virgo, almost in the same place. Oh, actually, exactly in the same place. 1829, 1820. I mean, you can't make this up. This is real time, guys. Exactly in the same place as it is the South Node now. So what has been taking place in your life since May last year until now? All this stuff that's been coming up, becoming conscious to us, now with Lilith being on 29 degrees of Libra. Last year it was the 29 degrees of Taurus conjunction, the exact in conjunction. Lilith is making an exact in conjunction to the point of the last year's conjunction between Venus and Jupiter, 29 degrees, 11, 23, which is the number 5. Chaos, conflict, situations we don't particularly enjoy. Everybody playing with cards, playing with tarot, knows that the five in any suit, it's not a very desirable card. 5 of Wands, 5 of Swords, 5 of Cups, anyone? 5 of Pentacles? Not really, thanks. Because that makes us to be present. The situation in our life that are not comfortable, that makes us pay attention, they make us be present in the moment. So a new choice can be made. 29, 11, number 2, a new choice can be made. And prior to that, as I already mentioned, the conjunction was in Aries. New choice, new direction. With Mars in Gemini, new choice, 19 degrees. 19 degrees, which is the Sun. Just as Sun is now, sextiling the place where Mars was 2 years ago in Gemini. Yeah, last year, as I already mentioned, Mars was in his rulership, conjunct the North Node. New choice has to be made. New direction has to be created. Why? because now we have Saturn and Neptune both in Aries retrograde. They're gonna go back into their Pisces sign for one more time. Neptune for the final time in our lifetime. Nobody alive on this planet will probably experience, human anyway, will experience Neptune in the sign of Pisces again after next year because of the orbit of Neptune. Saturn, you might experience Saturn in Pisces again. I don't know if I will, but that is still possible. But Neptune, no. Neptune, no. Now Neptune is in Aries, so from January, end of January 2026, Neptune is in Aries. So the meaning has changed. The desire of the source changed. Before we would come here and reincarnate lifetime after lifetime after lifetime to embody these roles, these archetypes, these archetypes. That's why even the archetypes are being redefined. What do they mean to you? These archetypes, Jesus, Mother Mary, Kali, Krishna. What do these archetypes mean to you in your life? In your life now, in 21st century, Pluto in Aquarius, what do they mean to you? What are you choosing to understand about this archetype? What are you choosing to embody about these archetypes? Everything is changing. So that's what I mean, with the Saturn and Neptune in Aries, in this opposition with Mars, ruled by the ruler of Saturn and Neptune and ruled by Venus in conjunction with Jupiter, who is just amplifying everything. Jupiter is the big planet. It amplifies everything. It's saying there are a lot of emotions flying around, guys. I'm sure you've noticed since January with the North Node in Pisces and now with everybody in the new signs, we don't even know where we're being hit from, like the time is speeding up and nothing feels kind of normal, right? Maybe for some people do. You can see the vortex here is on the 23 degrees. That's the Aquarian degree of Capricorn, and this is a Virgo decan. So yeah, things are happening quickly, things are disruptive in order to make us present. Pay attention and make adjustments. South Node is in Virgo, ruled by this Mercury post retrograde. We know what we didn't know before Mercury stationed retrograde, which, let me have a look what exactly that was. I had it written down somewhere, 18th of July 2025. So we had Mercury in retrograde between 18th of July until obviously the 11th of August. So whatever new realization now you have that you didn't have at the beginning of the July or even mid-July, now this realization can support us in making new choices to create a new direction. Virgo, as the hero's journey, human journey, your walked path, as the spirit incarnate on this earth, what role do you want to play now? Is the self-creation of your own purpose, being reborn, allowing this old role to dissolve, because does this still hold the meaning to keep embodying the same role, to keep digesting the same emotion over and over and over again and making the same choice and create the same result? Is that something that makes me happy? Is it something that makes you happy? To continue as the suffering of the lineages that came before us. They already paid the dues. Why do you have to pay them? And when these ancestors come back as your great grandchildren, they will not want to play the same role. I can guarantee you 100%. They are vouching on you and relying on you, and that's why they passed everything on to you, the good, the bad, and ugly, all of it, the wisdom of the experience, the lived experience they've had, their Virgo, their hero's journey. They passed that on to you, to me, to all of us that are currently physically incarnate, but also the challenges which they didn't have the tools to transform, transmute. So now it's on your plate. Now it's your responsibility. It's mine. It doesn't matter where it started. It doesn't matter who started the fire. These are irrelevant at this point. The point is, this is now in my present experience. I'm experiencing this lack mentality, or this sense of unworthiness, this sense of guilt and shame. Where did it come from? Oh, it came from my parents. Where did it come from before that? Oh, the grandparents. They were being raised that way. They had a hard life. Where did it come before that? And we can just track it back to God knows how long, forever. Not forever, but long time, especially Piscean age throughout the last 2000 years. And it doesn't matter where it started, but everybody's very familiar with these emotions, because we all, when we were born into the physical form, inherited some of it, like we all came here to have a certain experience as a soul, to play a certain role in our family and, in our ancestors' line, but also to play a certain role in the collective consciousness. We all have very many roles to play on this planet, that's why we are multidimensional, and that's why we have the opportunity to remember that right now with this Uranus being the sign of Gemini, and also Jupiter as the amplifier, being ruled by every single lunation, by being ruled by moon. And moon, we know, goes through the zodiac every month. It touches everything. It aspects everything. It's got 2 lunations every month. We have a new moon and a full moon. When we're lucky, sometimes we have 3 one month, So yeah, so everything that moon is going to be touching, going through, is going to get amplified by this Jupiter. And we know that we just, by the time you're watching this, had the full moon in Aquarius. Full moon in Aquarius, the illumination of what got seeded on the 29th of January this year, when the lunar year of the snake, we are in a year of the snake, wood snake, started. It began on the same day as we had the new moon in Aquarius. What is snake? Snake is about shedding the old skin. What are we shedding? We are shedding the old identities, the old contracts. Because you didn't come here to spend your entire life playing the same role, not in this incarnation. I mean, not everybody will be here past 2030, 2044 when Pluto moves into the sign of Pisces or forward, like I'm unlikely to be here when Pluto goes into the sign of Aries, for example. Who knows about the Pisces? But we didn't come here to just play one role, not at this time in human evolution. So with this Jupiter-Venus conjunction, everything is amplified. To me, this is the most important message. Everything is amplified and we feel everything very strongly. All these identities, ours, ancestors, and our past lives, everything that is unresolved and stuck in a time and place that needs healing and releasing, 2911, 18, the number 9, 18 is the moon card, which is the past. Moon card is actually the Pisces. It's not the moon. Moon card is the Pisces. So the past is coming back. It's coming around to be balanced, to be healed, to be cleared. So this old karma doesn't have to be passed on to your children and grandchildren. They came here for very different things. This Pluto Aquarius is now especially very different things. So it's our responsibilities, because these energies are no longer a frequency match to the timelines that we are stepping into and creating with all of these new energies. This Saturn, Neptune moving into Aries fully next year, Uranus re-entering Gemini again at the end of April next year. We also have the Chiron in the sign of Taurus next year. Let's have a look if he's, oh no, he's not yet there. On the 9th of June, he will not yet be there. So yeah, so this will be then the last Jupiter-Venus conjunction here in the sign of Cancer, the second and the last, and this is 25 degrees. 25 degrees is the Aries degree, and it is the final decan of Cancer, which is the Pisces. So initiation of the new from the past being learned, that we integrated the lesson. This is again number 2, the choice. We have the choice to make a different choice, to not have to learn the same lessons over and over and over again. We can see Mars is in Taurus, the foundation. This is a Virgo decan, Cancer degree. You are seeding the foundation of the future by choosing who do you want to be, what role you want to play, and allowing these old roles we have to play for one another for thousands of years. You do this, I do that, next life is switch, and da 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 da. No, no more, no more. By this point you can see Lilith is in Capricorn. Number 2, choice. You're choosing to be your own authority, but you have to face all the shadow that is preventing you from being that. Exactly in conjunction to Uranus next year. Exactly in conjunction. The Yod is pointing to the south node. Mercury is in Cancer. It's almost on the same degree as is this Venus-Jupiter conjunction now. 14 degrees. 12 degrees, For 12 degrees, the hangman, right? Illumination, the awakening, enlightenment, right? 14, there's a temperance, the healing, right? It's actually the card of Sagittarius. But what are we healing? And how are we healing? Through this chaos. Because the emotions are so ripe. There's so much going on with all this stuff, especially Mars in Libra. I mean, Mars in Libra is just gonna bring it all up, Like you can say, oh, yeah, Mars doesn't like being in Libra. But it doesn't matter, This is just polarization based on the understanding that our ancestors had when they used astrology the way they used it. But for us in the right here and now, Mars being the sign of Libra is bringing out everything that is unprocessed with regards to old energies, old emotions, especially with Venus being in the Cancer with this Jupiter conjunction. So we are experiencing the same patterns, some of it, and the same emotions. The patterns are just a side product, The patterns create a certain outcome, and the outcome reawakens certain emotions, the triggers. So the main thing here is the emotion, the Jupiter and Venus in Cancer, just like next year, Jupiter, Venus in Cancer, the second conjunction, they are bringing to the surface these emotions through this chaos, right? So the new can be created. So then a new direction can be made by letting go, allowing the spirit, more of the spirit to be embodied. The 29 degrees vortex, again, analytic degrees, 11-9, lot of master number frequencies, lot of nines. So going back to the emotions have to be embodied again in order to run through our system, and a new choice can be made. I can choose to act the same way on this emotion and create the same outcome, the same charge, or not. Do I want that? Do I just imagine what's going on in the world? Like, yeah, they attacked me. I'm gonna attack them back. Okay, then their children's gonna attack me or my children, because this is what's been going on for a long time. So yeah, so where is it going to stop? Who is gonna be the one to change the pattern and say, not in my name? No, no, I'm not doing this. And this is also where with the Uranus in Gemini, the choice to break that pattern is here, with this Mercury now post retrograde by the time of this conjunction in the number 4, which is the Cancer. What is your heart telling you is the right thing for you? How do you want to feel? With the Sun on the 19 degrees, there's a Sagittarius decan, 19 degrees, right? Sagittarius decan, the Sun card. This is the number 7. This is the Libra, right? So how are we balancing the scales of justice with the in conjunction pointing to this Lilith on 29 degrees? 29 degrees of Libra. It's done. It's done. A new has to be created, but we have to be strong. The number 17, the star and the strength. We have to be strong to reach for this star, right? The star of the hermit in his little lamp. To trust and envision this future, to feel it. I feel it in my gut. I feel it in my heart that there is a different way available. I remember it from the ancient past, and from the future potential. I remember it. There is a different way available. There is a choice presenting itself with this Mars bringing out the old, because the old has to be felt again in order for a new choice to be made, because otherwise the energy will just keep being stuck and there is no longer well, I mean, it is possible, everything is possible, it is no longer desired. It is no longer desired. So you have this T square over here, with this Lilith at at the precipice, being at the precipice of the Yod as well. So it's saying, okay, we have to look at the underbelly, so a new choice can be made, so the old karma can be balanced. What are these covert relational dynamics that's been hiding for so long, and everybody's been doing them for so long, we don't even notice they're there. But my parents did that and their parents did that, so why is it not good enough for you? Why should we be changing that, right? Well, how does it feel for you now? A few hundred years later, is it still something that is supportive to your evolution and to the journey that you are wanting to choose for yourself, which might be very different from those who were here hundreds of years ago, but they didn't have the choice you have now. So why would you turn your back on the new choice? Why? With the 1 degree, the magician, again, the 12, number 3, to create by looking at things differently, the hangman, upside down, look at things differently. Yeah, so this is a very powerful chart. I mean, we know it's the after effects of the full moon in Aquarius, where we have multiple kite. I mean, it's still here, right? The second kite is still here as well. You can see it's here, and the mystic rectangle. So there is a very powerful energy. It's very divinely supported and divinely orchestrated. Now is the time. So in a nutshell, quick recap: Venus Jupiter conjunction. I know you wanted to hear about all these fluffy things about Venus Jupiter in exaltation, and da 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 da. In evolutionary perspective, this means that everything is being amplified. You feel in everything very strongly. All the relational dynamics that are unresolved, whether between you and people or between us and the world and between us as a collective, as a human collective consciousness, it's all right there in your face. You can feel it in your body. You cannot escape it. It's right there. Mars is going to be in Libra until equinox. Literally Mars is going to move into Scorpio right before Sun moves into the sign of Libra. So Sun is actually on the analytic 29 degrees of Lilith, Libra. Mars is not Libra, sorry. Mars is going to be in Virgo. Mars. Sun is going to be in Virgo on 29 degrees at the time when Mars will enter into Scorpio, and then Sun will obviously enter into the sign of Libra. So it will be making a semi-sextile to this Lilith over here. But yeah, Mars will be in the sign of Libra until 22nd of September. So we have literally the rest of the summer, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, to to see all this stuff that is unresolved from the past dynamics, from the ancestor line and from our this life, past life, all of it, all of humanity, because we are all like connected, right? We are all like one human family, on this planet Earth, on this Gaia. So everything is coming up for resolution, for integration, also for balancing, right? To keep the neutrality, also for creating the polarized, the energy that has a opposite charge. So, if you have too much of a plus, you need the minus to balance it, to bring it to the 0 point. So that's what's happening. So that's why with the Saturn Neptune, by that point, of course, by the point Mars moves into the sign of Scorpio, Saturn will be in the Pisces, because Saturn re-enters the sign of Pisces at the beginning of September, right before Mercury moves into the sign of Virgo. So we will have Saturn back in the sign of Pisces, which will be bringing even more of this up. Like, oh my God, these old contracts, these old roles we play for one another since forever till forever. And now we just don't want to play this role anymore. Why? Because we want to create new timelines with the Uranus in Gemini. Like, there must be different roles to play. Come on. We're not just going to play these old roles of this victim and, martyr and the prosecutor and the savior. Like, that's old. We're not in the Pisces age now. We are in Aquarian age with Pluto in Aquarius. We want the balance, the equality, the two parallel lines of the Aquarius. We don't want this external authority and the hierarchical system and, obviously this Libra, this justice, things have to be balanced. Everybody has to be the winner, because otherwise, if somebody is losing, then there is a charge. There is the energy that's being stuck in a time and place based on the charge, and emotion in motion is being stuck, more karma. So that's why there are so many things, and I can definitely feel it in my own personal experience, how things are showing up for me. But with the trine to Uranus and Pluto, and Uranus being ruled by Mercury, ruled by the Sun in his rulership, and in Sagittarius Decan, connected to this Jupiter-Venus conjunction, and Uranus being the ruler of Pluto, the modern ruler, Saturn being the traditional in Aries, still sextile in Pluto, including Neptune, there is a lot of support. There is a lot of support. Now, in evolutionary astrology, one thing to understand is just because these are positive aspects, sextile trines, it doesn't feel it's gonna feel all fluffy and nice, because what it means on the soul level, because that's what we're talking about here, is your soul is ready. Your soul is so ready. With the Jupiter in Cancer, it's so ready. Come on. Like, let's expand, let's grow, let's explore new horizons. Let's just see what else is there to, like, experience on this planet. I want to feel expansive and, like, great, growing, all that. But the human self, the ego self, especially with the moon in Pisces, is all confused, because it's saying, but all I know is the totality of the Piscean age, That's what's been experienced with the South Node in Virgo. That's what I know, what the ancestors did, They walk on this earth. That's what we know. So you telling me to go in some unknown? What is that? And this is where the Uranus and the Pluto, in this Aquarius Gemini, which is like, you decide. It's not yet created. It's in quantum field. You decide. And Mercury in Leo, trust your heart. Listen to your heart. What is your heart telling you to do? Otherwise, we listen to the wounded inner child that is saying trauma, 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 coping mechanism, trauma response, So which one is it? So that's, I guess, what we had the opportunity to play with during this Mercury retrograde in Leo. And then, of course, when Sun moves into the sign of Virgo, and we'll have the first of the two moons in Virgo, new moon in Virgo, the second one being the eclipse on the 21st of September with Mars, on these final degrees of Libra, the adjustments, the need to adjust, the need to end this old way of serving this planet, which is through sacrifice and servitude, through sense of victimization, that I don't have a choice. This is how it's always been, No, but look at the world. Look at everybody else. Everybody else is doing it. Not anymore. Not anymore. With the Aquarius, it's all about individuation. With Leo, all about authenticity. Full moon in Aquarius. Where is your authentic expression? What is the service you would want to offer to the world? Just being who you are, nothing other. This is also the amplification of the Venus Jupiter conjunction. Who are you really? What is that voice within you, that voice of intuition that had to be quiet for so long to play all these roles to all these people? And now this true essence of you is like, shut up, it's like, oh, I can't hear it because I didn't let it speak for so long because I had to listen to everyone else. Like, walk on eggshell. What does these people want me to be? Who do they want me to be? What role do they want me to play? Because we all want to belong. We all want to belong. Like we all want to be interdependent, right? Because nobody can do it all alone. And this is also what's natural to us. We remember the oneness that I didn't have to do it alone before. Like even like from our spiritual origin, like you're not even alone here. Your spirit guides, your ancestors, like I said, a whole bunch of them behind you. This is all of us. It's not just you. This is I. This is everyone. So that's what we remember. That's what we are seeking. Where is my other half? Where is my partner? Where is my family? Where is my soul family? I remember that I wasn't alone before I came here. That's why the baby cries. It's like, I'm alone. I'm alone. What do I do now? But many of us became someone to all these people that is not necessarily who we are, but it was necessary to become that in order to find a way back to yourself, because eventually that playing all these roles to all these people will make you sick, because you can never be everything to everyone, and then everybody's got different needs, right? That is the Taurus, the sextile between Cancer and Taurus. Everybody's got different needs. And again, we go to the in conjunction between Taurus and Libra. You can't please everyone. And if you don't take care of yourself, you're no good to anyone anyway. So this is the changing of the pattern. We know that the South Node was in Libra last year, right? South Node was in Libra over here, in opposition with this stellium over here in Aries. So yeah, this South Node in Libra was saying like, yeah, with this Venus, Jupiter, 29 degrees, this is not a good foundation for the future. This is not a good way to live life, to always hope that somebody else will make you feel valued, because then we will be always feeling disempowered, waiting for somebody else's validation. So anyway, I'm just going in circles over here and I'm going to end and pull some cards to close this reading with. But yeah, Jupiter-Venus conjunction, even though there are two benefics, they're just saying, let's amplify, let's make it bigger so they can really feel it, and then they can make a new choice. And then they can grow through it and go and explore this new horizon, because soul is more neutral than human. It is all this unconditional love. Unconditional love is not Hallmark. It's like everything is fine. Like unconditional love is, in a sense, unconditional, like acceptance and detachment. Because the universe, okay, you want to play that role? No problem. No problem. You decide. You have a free will over here. So, yeah, the amplification of everything, the emotion, who you were, who everybody else in your bloodline was, who you were in a past life, and is it still who you want to be? It's up to you, because this North Node is trying, is saying, well, you can release it by understanding the meaning, learning the lesson, or you can keep repeating it. But with this opposition, the scales have to be balanced one way or another. If not in this life, next lifetime, if not you, your children, somebody will have to balance it, because the energy is there. So yeah, I just keep looking at this Saturn with the 111. That's nice number over there. Okay, guys, I'm gonna leave it at that. I hope that this was somehow helpful. So if you're experiencing a lot of emotional turmoil and a lot of outdated relational patterns are right in your face, and you go like, oh my God, why is this happening? Why is this coming up again? This is why. Yeah. Jupiter Venus conjunction, and there is one more next year. One more next year, but that will be, the final degrees of Cancer, which is the Pisces. So it's gonna be like, okay, so what did we work on releasing based on who we chose that we are not and who we want to become, because we already learned the lessons. Okay, yeah. Next year it will be underlined with the one the Aries degree of the Piscean decan of Cancer. So with that, let's pull a card and see what cards want to say about this wonderful conjunction of Venus and Jupiter, amplifying everything and making us feel this emotional flooding of the North Node in Pisces this year, with the Neptune in Aries saying, there is a whole new universe to explore, and you decide what holds a meaning for you that you want to bring into manifestation with the Saturn in Aries next year. So let's see. Okay. What is the guidance with regards to Jupiter and Venus conjunction in 2025? Okay, what is this energy about? Oh, the waiting game. Isn't that interesting? And it's a number 2. Yeah, look, this is perfect. This is perfect. You see, the spiral is getting wider and wider. The roots are down. These are the ancestors, and now we are in a waiting game. Yeah, because there's one more conjunction next year, so don't fret. You didn't miss out on anything. So between now and the next conjunction, we will go through a lot of expansion. We know that already because of this magnification and amplification of how anything that is out of alignment makes us feel. We can no longer ignore it or sweep it under the carpet because we feel a lot. With the North Node in Pisces, it's the flooding, right? And because the energies are saying, there is a new energy over here, new kid on the block, like it's right there in your face. You can't ignore it anymore, especially from next year. So it's the waiting game and the choice. And this is actually 2 of Wands, which is an auspicious card, 2 of Wands. You decide. You are deciding where you want to go. Where do you want to go from here? So this person, the circle are getting bigger and bigger. So we are in the waiting game because we know we have the retrogrades. And also we have the last ingress of Saturn, Neptune back into Pisces, Uranus into Gemini. So yeah, now is the time to choose how you want to expand. Where do you want to go? What is your new orbit? Because the outcome is coming. It's coming, next year, number 10, the reset year. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the patience and planning. This is the seven of Pentacles, the investment into your future. So yeah, we have 2 cards that are saying about patience. Patience, that is not the energy is here, but it's not fully here. It's like this, the planet's going to go back. So yeah, choose. What do you want to create? The 2 of Wands. That's a card of air. That's Aries, right? 2 of Wands. What do you want to create? Where do you want to go? Which direction do you want to expand into? With the 7 of Pentacles, you have to make some investments, the 7 of Pentacles, this guy is waiting for his things to come from underground, like, oh yeah, this is all of it, these few Pentacles, like I've been invested for so long. But don't worry, it's coming. It's coming. Let's see what else is there. Mental conflict in other 2. Yeah. Everything that is mental conflict, this is the swords, 2 of Swords. So it's like you can choose to look at this situation in any way you want, which is also with this Uranus being a sign of Gemini. You can decide how do you want to look at this situation. Do you want to look at it from the past, the South Node in Virgo, that, oh, this is how it always was, so let's just use our mind, logical mind, which is the archive of the past, to create this mental conflict, or do I want to go higher, connect with my heart, with this intuition, the voice of our soul, to say like, okay, yeah, this is what it looks like. This is how I would interpret it in the past, but I'm not who I was last year. I am not who I was at the beginning of Mercury retrograde. So how do I want to look at it now? It's my choice. So this is a 2 of Swords, in traditional tarot, it's the person with a mask over her eyes, and she's like, okay, which direction do I choose? This is up to you. Which way do you want to interpret anything, including what I'm saying here? It's up to you. So, with the Uranus in Gemini, 1 degree actually, so that's the Magician, and there is a hope. We'll end it with this, the Star card. Choose, that's the opportunity, this is the Cardinal Libra. Perfect, Libra. Choose. What is the star that you want to bring into creation? This is the 17, is a star card, the hope for the future. So you know that we are in a process of happening, becoming. Things are changing. This is the Aries card. Things are happening. We just don't see them yet. But they are coming because there is 7 of Pentacles. They might be under the ground, but they're coming. You see, the light is coming. The illumination is coming. Again, you can see these, just like here, the expansion. It's coming between the 2 pillars. Also, like in a High Priestess, the High Priestess card, the conscious and unconscious. We are in the in-between. What can I tell you? We are in the in-between. It's the choice to choose, Your thoughts create your reality. Choose wisely, you know. What timelines do you want to experience going forward? Which one do you allow to choose, your ego mind or your higher mind? Do we want to get stuck with the old narrative or do we want to rise above it? Which one do you want to choose? Two of Swords, two tools, two choices. Focus on the future, the hope, what it is that you want to manifest. You know, it looks almost like the sun. What do you want to create? What is the future that would allow you to feel the most expansive version of yourself? How does it feel? You know, so we leave it at that, guys. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you like my way of being and talking and interpreting anything, then you can connect with me. You can book with me through Lada's channel. I am available for readings only until the end of August because then I am having some personal things going on in my life, which you'll learn about at the end of the month when I will make another video about the eclipses with my partner. And yeah, so if you would like to book a reading with me, you can book until the end of August, and then I'll be back to work in November. So between then and November, I will not be able to do any personal readings. So now is a good time to book, also because we are in this crazy time in between with all this amplification. So if you need any guidance with regards to your personal journey, you can book with me. Or also there is a new service I offer with me and my partner, the alchemical metamorphosis process, available for booking. And then you get 2 for 1, me and my partner, and we both offer a different perspective and put together all our tools and modalities to support you on your journey. So with that, I wish you all a wonderful rest of Leo season. Happy birthday to all Leos and happy birthday to Virgos upcoming. And I'll speak to you in the next video. And thanks, of course, to Lada for allowing me to create this video. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.